Welcome to the Herd's official YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe. Don't forget to check out the Colin Cowherd podcast, all of our NFL instant reactions, and more football content.
Nick Wright is joining us live, host of First Things First. All right, Joe Alt's out. I can't put the Chargers in. I put San Francisco in for coaching. I don't think they're.
That's fine.
Yeah, anything bother you?
This is a good time. No. First of all, I give you credit for the courage it takes to keep the Packers and the Colts out because they shouldn't be in, which leads me to the news of the day. And by the way, I think the Seahawks adding Rashid Shaheed is massively impactful. Your guy Darnold's been awesome. The Seahawks have been maybe the most underrated team in the league. I obviously disagree with you on the Broncos, but we'll get to see the Chiefs play the Broncos twice, so we'll see. The Colts trading, Colin, 2 first-round picks, and by the way, A.D. Mitchell, who hasn't been good for them, but he was their second-round pick a year ago, for Sauce Gardner feels wildly risky. And it says to me they are just fully confident that this Daniel Jones is the Daniel Jones they're getting from here on out. Teams that trade multiple first-round picks for non-quarterbacks almost always have their quarterback in place, or else it's a disaster. When the Bears traded 2 first-round picks for Khalil Mack when they had Mitch Trubisky, that did not age well. Hell, the Seahawks traded 2 first-round picks with the Jets for Jamal Adams. They had their quarterback in Russell Wilson. That didn't age well. The fact that the Colts are giving up the same draft capital for Sauce that the Packers gave up for Micah is crazy to me. It is wildly aggressive and ambitious, but I feel like it's on the board that next year the Colts, that's Daniel Jones, the magic carpet ride ends, and then the Colts have the 9th pick of the draft next year, and that's what they're sending to the Jets. I'm stunned that this was what they gave up for Sauce Gardner.
I really believe this to be true. I think within the league, people think the Jets are the biggest circus. Aaron Rodgers looks shot. Now he looks nimble and youthful. Sam Darnold looks like, on any given Sunday, the best quarterback in the league. Robert Saleh has flourished in San Francisco.
Sure.
I think the Sauce Gardner move is, Sauce was great with Saleh. Nothing works with the Jets and Aaron Glenn specifically. We're getting a top 3 corner. He has regressed because nothing works in New York. I think it's an indictment of the Jets' operation.
Listen, but I guess my point would be this. Even if I was guaranteed I'm getting a top 3 corner, I would be super hesitant to trade multiple first-round picks, to your point earlier, if I'm not certain I have my quarterback. Like, this to me is the Colts saying, we believe in Daniel Jones, full stop. We believe we are set at quarterback, and therefore we can be super aggressive. I just don't share that belief. And the Jets have earned the reputation as a circus organization. But I think this is an awesome trade. For a team that's not going anywhere, to add multiple first-round picks and take a flyer, A.D. Mitchell was the 53rd pick of the draft 1 year ago. To be able to add those guys, and so I think it's a potentially excellent trade for the Jets and a very risky trade for the Colts. But I'm interested to see how it works.
So I said this about yesterday. My opening rant was, I know you feel great in Buffalo, but you dominate time of possession. You're perfect in the red zone. You hit Mahomes 15 times. You literally outgained him, out-hit him, out-physicaled, out-schemed. And Mahomes had the ball trailing 28-21. You have to make a move at the trade deadline. You simply don't have enough downfield targets. It's very much a James Cook tight end offense. So my take was, I feel Kansas City will solve left tackle. I don't think you can solve the inability to throw it deep in Buffalo without a move at the trade deadline. So I didn't think it was the world's worst loss for Kansas City. Your thoughts?
Well, listen, I want to give Buffalo immense credit. Josh was excellent. I thought the Bills' defense would not be able to slow down Kansas City at all. They obviously did. It was honestly a miracle that the Chiefs had the ball twice in the fourth quarter, down just a touchdown, and Sean McDermott going for a field goal with 28 seconds left and the Chiefs having no timeouts.
Insane.
Instead of just punting it away was one of the most, it didn't cost them, but one of the most insane coaching moves of the year. And listen, hat tip to Josh Allen, because in addition to being one of the most physically gifted quarterbacks of all time, he is a guy who you can count on, unlike anyone else in the league, to outplay Patrick Mahomes when it matters the least. Every single time when it matters the least, Josh is going to be the better quarterback on the field. With that said, I have seen this story 4 years in a row, and then it has been a very different story come the postseason. I do think that the most impressive part of what the Bills did on Sunday was the ability to get to Patrick. But to your point, by the second half of that game, 3 of the Chiefs' 5 starting offensive linemen weren't there. And so the Chiefs' offense, as long as the offensive line is intact, will be not just fine, but I think will be the best offense in football. They still need more of a pass rush. And so I wonder if here in the next couple hours, are they potentially going to trade for a running back? Now that we see the Jets are open for business, is Breece Hall available, or are they going to try to trade for a Tavondre Sweat or a different defensive lineman? I do think they need a bit more of a pass rush, but the Bills have beaten the Chiefs 5 straight years in the regular season. And in those 5 years, the Chiefs have beaten the Bills in the playoffs the 4 times they've faced. So I agree. I don't know why this one would be different.
So, you know, you're a guy, you're a big spender. You buy some stuff and you take some risks in your life that I don't. Sure. I go to bed at 8:45. You're at a casino playing poker at midnight and doing the show. You're a risk taker. But one of the things I've always appreciated about you, you never try to talk yourself into, it's healthy, or it's good for me. You're a gunslinger as a personality, and I like that. Okay, so I'm getting to my point. The point is, you know when you're lighting those things up. What do you call those things you occasionally...
black and milds? Yeah, that's what I call them. It's what they're called. Yeah,
okay,
go ahead.
They're not extending your life. You know that, but it's adding to your life. So I watched Caleb Williams. The Bears are #1 in the NFL in big plays. You didn't get him because he was the most accurate guy. You got him because your offense has been boring for 28 straight years. And so my take is, I feel strongly saying with Ben Johnson, he's a hit. He's not going to be 68% completion. Stop talking yourself into it. It's like he has delivered what they didn't have. Big plays, excitement, wild drama, and he can miss layups for 3 hours.
Listen, I think that's totally fair. I also think that drive at the end of the game was the most important moment of his career, because that's the type of loss, Colin, that submarines a season. You can't blow a 14-point lead late like that and recover, and that's what they had done. So that drive was bigger than your typical game-winning drive. I agree on the fine precision stuff. He is going to be a work in progress. But also, you know, it was a 10-8 round, Jaden Daniels over Caleb Williams after their rookie years. If you polled 32 GMs today, Drake May goes from 3-1 in that redraft. But given the fact that Jaden, who was incredibly slight of frame coming into the league, and that was the concern, has now had 4 separate injuries to 4 different parts of his body. And the last one is, you feel sick for the kid, but a gruesome arm injury. If you ask 32 GMs today, all right, if Drake goes #1 in that draft, who's the next quarterback off the board? I think more people are saying Caleb than are saying Jaden this morning. Also, if I may defend myself for a moment, maybe there's a method to my madness of staying out late and drinking and gambling and doing whatever I do, because I'm fit as a fiddle. You, meanwhile, got the sniffles out here. Maybe I have built up an immunity that your 8:30 bedtime, you know, a stiff breeze puts you in the doctor's office. I'm just saying.
I'm in the ICU because I shook the wrong hand. You're out there.
Exactly right. Exactly.
You know, it's funny. You and I wouldn't be called classic baseball fans, but I found
playoffs were great.
Oh, I'm just enraptured. Here's what's amazing. Nick, when the Raptors played the Warriors in the finals, it did not match, despite the fact that Steph Curry and it was a wildly entertaining final.
Yep.
The ratings went down because you only had one American city represented in our ratings metric system.
Yep.
The fact that this thing got 27 million and only one city represented in our rating system. And, Nick, think about this. Whereas international players don't move the needle necessarily in the NBA, they're wonderful people and wonderful players, but they're kind of, they're not big personalities. The two best Dodgers are Japanese stars. And and I said this the other day, if baseball's America's pastime, the Dodgers are the Globe's team. The road attendance, the home attendance. I'm saying to myself, this number is being underreported. How did the whole series and the fanfare and the finishes land for you?
The fact that Game 7 of the NBA Finals did 16, 17 million, and this did 26, 27 million, to your point, without two American cities as the home cities is remarkable. But it makes sense because the theater of this baseball postseason, and then of this World Series in particular, it took your breath away. And I found myself sick to my stomach to this day for Blue Jays fans when I hadn't thought about Blue Jays fans in 30 years since Joe Carter hit his home run. But I can't, to be that close, that many separate occasions over that many days to winning a championship and then just have your guts ripped out, it's sickening.
Yeah.
And I also think it's good for baseball that you can't watch these playoffs and that World Series in particular and say, oh, it's an unfair fight. No one stands a chance. The Blue Jays were the better team over the bulk of the series. The Blue Jays were multiple moments, fractions of an inch away from being champions. So you can't walk away from it saying, oh, what's the drama of next year? The Dodgers had an up and down regular season, were red hot with their arms, not with their bats, for the first part of the playoffs, and then played in an epic World Series that they could have lost 3 or 4 different times. I thought it was the best championship series that I have seen in sports since the 2016 finals, the 3-1 comeback for LeBron against Steph and the Warriors. I just thought the 18-inning game, all of it was so great. And I think Yamamoto goes down as a legendary player based on what he did pitching on back-to-back days. And I think Vladdy goes down as one of the most likable guys on the losing end, and you just feel so sick for Kirk and Schneider and everybody.
Yeah. Nick Wright, first things first. It's great seeing you as always, my friend. You know, when I talked about your habits, which I worry about you as your mentor and
you don't have to worry about me,
your
buddy.
Spiritual advisor, I do worry a little about you, but you know, you always look great.
You know, I thank you. I appreciate that. I try to keep it in bounds as much as I can. Been on TV for 8 years, only shown up with a broken arm one time, so I'm doing all right. Yeah. Somebody get my man a Z-Pack. Okay, don't we still have a doctor on the lot? Can somebody give you an IV or some fluid, something? Yeah. My God, he's a Hall of Famer. He's the face of the network. Let's get the guy feeling better. See you, Colin.
All right, Nick Wright. Yeah, it was just, it is amazing. This World Series hammered the Yankee-Dodger World Series. To get that many people, and there is something magical about that the Dodgers, I remember this year the Dodgers hosted the Yankees. Last year they went to New York to play them, and I remember watching that series. Teoscar Hernandez had a great series in New York and the Bronx, but I remember that series because there were Dodger hats all over Yankee Stadium. And I was like, what is happening here in baseball? It's just unbelievable. To get that rate, everybody says, oh, it's ruining baseball. 27 million people watched a World Series that had one team from the United States in it. Folks, it's not ruining baseball. NBA's got an issue. It's getting highly international, and those players, for whatever reasons, do not connect with the consumer. The Dodgers players do. They certainly, and this, you know what it also shows? I've been saying this for years. Everybody nobody likes power. Everybody hates their prime minister. Nobody likes their president. Nobody likes anybody in power. Rob Manfred, and I'm not saying this because we have a baseball contract. I'm not. Rob Manfred has taken massive swings for 3 years, and they've almost all worked. The pitch clock. I've said it. Last 2 years, I watched more baseball. Why? The games move. I got a life to live. I can't sit and watch 3.5-hour games in May. The sport moves. It's quick. Everything's better faster. Everything's better, more efficiently, quicker, more succinct. So the sport moves. It's faster. It's global. And I find this too. You know, you go back to the Mets World Series team. They weren't the most likable. They were crazy off the field stuff. This Dodger team, considering the money, considering how big this organization is, everybody likes everybody. It's an incredibly good room. We're live in LA. It's the Herd. You know what's amazing about the National Football League is in baseball, if you like a guy, you like a guy. Generally, you're like, okay, he's 24. He's got a good arm. You're like, yeah, like he's going to give us 28 good starts. He's a good pitcher. He may not be Clayton Kershaw or Yoshi, but he's a good pitcher. Same in basketball. You like a guy or you don't. Very rarely do you change your opinion quickly on an NBA player or a Major League Baseball player. Football is different because of the component of the regulated level of violence, is that you can like a guy, but if he's always hurt, he doesn't do you any good. Like Malik Neighbors for the New York Giants is good. He's hurt too much. He's not a top 10 receiver. I don't care how talented he is. He's hurt too much. And I was thinking about this. Ben Johnson was talking about Caleb Williams. If you asked me a year ago this question, I'd have a totally different answer. But if you told me today, I have got to ride or die for the next 4 to 5 years with Caleb Williams of the Bears or Jaden Daniels, I would take Caleb Williams. Well, how? Jaden's been hurt 4 times. Jaden's not available. Caleb is a bigger, stronger, more physical, trunkier athlete. And so, by the way, Jaden Daniels' NFL career, 33 touchdowns, 11 picks. You want to know what Caleb's NFL career is? 32 touchdowns, 10 picks. And the difference is Jaden Daniels walked into this league and it was a do-over. There was all this newness in D.C., and he was part of it. It was fresh. It was new. It was ascending. That's not what happened for Caleb Williams. He walked into the middle of a home renovation, and they were on the second project manager. It wasn't going well. Okay? Like there were holes everywhere. There was some fraud going on. The home renovation, Matt Eberflus and his cartoon coaching staff, that's what he inherited. And remember, Caleb did not start nearly as many games as Jaden Daniels. So Caleb Williams came in he had 22 fewer starts than Jaden Daniels. So Jaden comes in with a lot more starts. He's in the SEC. Has more NFL bodies, and then he gets this Cliff Kingsbury and Dan Quinn and the newness and Terry McLaurin. But now you look today, and you got to ride or die, and you're like, Caleb doesn't throw any picks. Caleb's always healthy. He's a bigger, thicker, stronger athlete. And, I mean, right now, the Bears, this is the best Bears offense since 1983 through 9 games. And we can nitpick here, but the kid has developed a relationship with Rome Odunze. Right now, they're number 1 in the NFL in big plays per game. It's a Sam Darnold thing. It's an Andrew Luck thing. People used to pick at Andrew Luck because of the picks, and they pick on Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is a big play quarterback. He is a big play quarterback. Caleb Williams, same thing. It's not always pretty. He can miss the layups. He's not highly accurate all the time. But it's just in the NFL, my opinion, I mean, like Drake May at the end of last year, you're like, yeah, there's something there. Then 4 games in with Vrabel, you're like, oh, that's a star. Like that is a top 7 quarterback in the league eventually. And that's what football does to us. And I like Jaden Daniels a lot. But now we got 4 injuries in 2 years, and that was the primary concern with Jaden Daniels in college. So I've said this many times. When the primary concern in college becomes the primary concern in the NFL, you got trouble. Now, Caleb's primary issue was he doesn't play in structure. Well, actually, he's playing more in structure, and he's cut his sacks in half. So he's doing a better job. I don't think he's a super accurate guy. He'll get better. But he's a little Cam Newton here. He's just got so much damn firepower and so much horsepower that sometimes he's so amped up, he'll miss the layups. But Ben Johnson on that wild win over the Bengals, he said that was an offensive win.
There were times this year that I felt like we won in spite of the offense, and this was probably the first time I felt like the offense had a big say in us winning that game. And so that was encouraging to me just for that phase.
And it's not necessarily flip-floppy. There's a difference between, a dog ate my homework. That's an excuse. Or, yeah, somebody T-boned the school bus on the way. The kids were all late. They're all okay, but they were late to school. That's different. The reality is with Caleb is fewer college starts, goes to Chicago, hot mess of a coaching staff. That's a real bona fide reason for struggling. But I'm watching him right now, and if you had to give one word description of every one of the young quarterbacks, for Drake May, you would say hit. Bo Nix, hit. J.J. McCarthy, somewhere between shaky and undetermined. Michael Penix, unsure. Caleb kind of feels like a hit. It's not always pretty, but it's trending there. Danny Parkins talked about this yesterday on our show.
He had to go through firing Matt Eberflus and firing Shane Waldron and the whole fiasco of last year. But they upgraded the offensive line. They upgraded his weapons. They upgraded his coach, who happened to also be his play caller. And he's seeing growth. You mentioned the sacks. He has, 14 sacks taken in 8 weeks? He took 68 sacks last year. I don't need to give you anything else beyond that, and it's improvement. Caleb's a gamer. That's his third come-from-behind drive in the fourth quarter in his last 5 games. So is he perfect or a finished product? Far from it. But he's really talented, and he's getting better week by week.
Yep, herd hierarchy topping next hour with Nick Wright. Matt Mosley talking some Cowboys before the end of this hour. A lot of stuff today, but it kind of feels like we're trending toward a hit. I know it's early, but there are times when you get a bad boss. It's your first job out of college, right? And maybe your son or daughter, you're listening, you're a dad. The first job out of college is the company's not real good, and maybe your son or daughter's a little immature. They definitely need, a really nice landing spot in their first job, and they don't get it. You can't bail on people. I mean, Sam Darnold's the great example of that. Baker Mayfield. Be very careful about bailing on quarterbacks in a league where there's never been more good offensive coaching, and Caleb finally got some. It was his second coach, but he finally got some. J-Mac with the news.
No.
Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
Let's go to that Detroit Lions loss to the Vikings, Colin.
Yeah.
They were coming out of the bye week. They were considered one of the better teams in the league, and they kind of got smashed at home by Minnesota. Jared Goff got beat up badly. Talking to the media after the game, Dan Campbell took responsibility for the team's lack of preparedness.
We did everything we needed to do to lose that game. We made every critical error you needed to at the right time to lose it. Perfect storm. When you don't play well in all 3 phases, that falls on the head coach. That's me. So I did not have them ready coming out of a bye. We weren't. We made too many critical errors, man.
Yeah, Detroit's one of my favorite picks of the week.
Against Washington.
Yeah, a really good team that had a really bad home loss in division.
Mm-hmm.
You know what we always say, like Commanders now, trade deadline. What's the Commanders locker room like today, knowing 10 guys in that locker room are not sure the team wants to keep them? That's not a good week of practice for the Commanders. Man. Old team, beat up. I mean, for the next several hours, their Commander players talking to their agents' wives, like I may be out of town. So Detroit's got a galvanized, focused, angry locker room. The Commanders is all sorts of questions, enigmatic, and players don't know if they'll be with the Commanders in an hour.
So let me focus. Yeah, Washington's cooked. Let's focus on the Lions for a second. So we've seen this season, I'll have some data for you later in the week. Teams coming off a bye this season have roared. They've ripped. They've been amazing. We just saw the Cardinals come off a bye and they were dominant for 3+ quarters. The Rams off the bye. Unbelievable. Why did Dan Campbell flop so badly off a bye? Is he not a grinder?
No.
In combo? I don't know.
He's a total grinder. So this is a very legitimate question. There are two types of coaches in the NFL, primarily CEOs. They're not scheme gurus. Shanahan is. Okay, Shanahan, Andy Reid, they're great schemes and CEOs. When you give the scheme guys like McVay an extra week, it is Sean Payton, you're cooked. But if you give the CEOs, the yellers, the guys that are mostly about physiology and psychology and presence, what do they do with the extra time? So my feeling is there are certain teams. I love offensive coaches off a bye if I think they're scheme guys, because they'll bring in 6 new looks.
Yeah.
But if it's just, hey, Mike Tomlin's not a scheme guy, he's a motivator. Dan Campbell, same thing. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think if you look at Detroit and you're like, well, what happened? Well, I mean, the truth is the intensity is the key for Dan Campbell. And in the bye week, he lost it. If you watch that game, like the Cowboys last night, were flat. They were flat. Detroit was flat.
Great points. A couple notes here. Jared Goff got pressured 30 times.
Oh, no.
Sacked 5 times.
It was incredible. I haven't seen Detroit's O-line get worked like that in 2 years.
And I know we like Jahmyr Gibbs a lot. This stat blew my mind. So he had to pick up the blitz a lot because Minnesota and Flores were blitzing. He had to pick up the blitz 16 times. 7 of them he gave up pressures. So basically it was 50-50 if Jahmyr Gibbs was going to pick up the blitz or not. That is not a good sign going forward. The smart, good teams, the Rams, come playoff time are going to see that and be like, hey, Gibbs can't blitz pick up.
The colder the weather gets, okay, the closer we get toward Thanksgiving and beyond, coaching matters a lot. Everybody now has all sorts of film. All these teams have tendencies. The margins thin out, right? The good teams at the trade deadline get a little better with acquisitions. So this is now where coaching matters. Belichick's best month was always December and January. His weakest was September. So this is, and that's been the question with Dan Campbell. We know Mike Tomlin, by the way, more of a motivator. Why are his teams so bad late in the season? You can only motivate and do the rah-rah stuff for so long. So Tomlin's highly effective. And then December hits, and everybody's heard the stories and the rah-rah stuff. And they're not buttoned up scheme-wise. That's why Aaron's so valuable to this team, is Aaron's good on the scheme.
And by the way, Dan Campbell, it just reminded me, listening to you, they had the bye against Washington in the playoffs, come out and get absolutely destroyed.
Literally their worst game of the year. So, again, buys don't matter for certain coaches.
Yeah. Let's move on to the Rams, Colin. I think you and I both like their Super Bowl odds a lot. They had an impressive showing against the Saints.
Be careful.
Puka Nacua got dinged up. McVay taking responsibility for calling an end around in the red zone. Here we go.
I feel sick, because – that 4th down situation where he's getting kind of a side shot and he's so good at that. And that's such an important situation. And then you're saying, damn, you leave him susceptible to a great player pursuing from an inside out location that gives him a good shot. So that's not on anything him. That's more on the play call. And
yeah, I think
it's the game of the week, by the way.
Puka gets banged up. I also think
he's tough though. He's not like Brandon Ayuk out a year.
No. He's
7 weeks, like
super physical player.
This guy's tough. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you something right now. My inclination: Niners keep it close.
Ooh.
Division rival. By the way, with the Rams ascending, this game arguably means more to the Niners.
Well, Niners beat them last time. So
well, that's what I'm saying. The Niners need to sweep this series to be a playoff team. Rams don't.
Yeah.
Look at the Rams schedule going forward.
I can't do anything with the Niners until I know injury situation. But I'll tell you this, if they can't pressure Stafford and he's sitting back there in a tuxedo throwing passes, they're not stopping this offense.
Yeah.
So I cannot wait for this game. I don't think I'm going to bet it. But
look at that Rams schedule. Got a couple Arizonas late. Carolina.
Oh no, not Jacoby Brissett.
No, I'm saying the Rams. If you're San Francisco, you have to beat them now because the Rams got a lot of layups down the stretch.
That is interesting. Final story, Colin, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes, we got to say nice things about them, Colin. Big win over the league-leading Colts. Before the game, Pittsburgh honored their Super Bowl 40 champs. And Ben Roethlisberger was in attendance, as well as Jerome Bettis, the bus, after the game. Listen to what Aaron Rodgers said. Major praise for Big Ben.
I've known Ben for years and years and years, going back to, the early Tahoe days. But I enjoy watching him play over the years, because he wasn't the fastest guy, but he was hard to take down. He was always swinging that ball around, keeping the plays alive, and it's fun. This is a big Ben team. I'm just happy to be a part of the organization, though.
This game I have no play. First of all, Joe Alt out for the year. So you got T.J. Watt on the end, and the Chargers are missing both their tackles.
How is this line 3? What am I missing?
I said this about the Texans this week when they played. Who did the Texans play this week? Denver. I said, stay away. I have no beat on it. I still think if C.J. Stroud doesn't get knocked out, Texans probably could win that game. I have no beat. I have not. The Chargers are a team this year because of their tackle situation. I've rarely put them in the blazing
five. By the way,
five.
both their tackles got hurt against the Titans. Both of them. Herbert got dropped 5 times. Colin, something's telling me that this could be a spot where 70% of the audience at SoFi is Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a tough one. Big week out here in L.A. You got SoFi for Chargers. You got USC at home on Friday. I may go to that game. USC Northwestern. You got Wemby in town. You got the World Series wrapped up. Good time to be in LA.
I said it yesterday. There's no reason to tear down the parade route. There'll be a couple more teams going through it in Los Angeles. It's a good time to be an LA sports fan. It really is. Good ownership, smart ownership. J-Mac with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Sometimes there's a big story, and I don't think it's even getting as much play as it deserves, and I'll talk about that next. We're in LA. It's The Herd.